trying to lead high schoolers around the country to get involved. You guys are on the ground floor of really transforming the 21st century with American leadership. I mentioned my background in law and policy. I've seen this through my career as a naval officer, as a lawyer, as a public prosecutor, working for Governor Schwarzenegger in California, working for President Obama in Washington, D.C., and then going on to lead AMCC. The nugget of our strength as a nation is manufacturing. The ripple effect is so important and positive. So what I'm going to do is very quickly talk about this thing called systems leadership you see on the slide there, because what Olivia is doing, what the whole Subortus Project is doing, what all these folks that you're going to be hearing about today are doing is systems leadership, right? Because no one entity can really bring the American project forward, can strengthen manufacturing on their own. And so you high schoolers get understanding this at the early age of high school, informing, what you do in your career and further education or whatever life takes you, thinking of yourselves as connecting the dots within the system toward a goal of what we'll talk about in a second, systems sustainable development, is really essential to have the big picture. So if you go to the next slide there, I just want to make four big points here. You see the 4 points I'm going to make really quickly here is this: sustainable development is arguably our best framework right now, based on the best evidence that's out there about how we move forward in the American project and the human project overall. Then I'll talk about American manufacturing as that nugget that drives sustainable development, and then how systems leadership matters, connecting the dots. And then lastly, how you guys as high schoolers and going on can spread the information about how incredibly important it is. We got to get to kitchen tables, and we'll talk to that. So the first point, sustainable development is our best framework. This is developed over decades. And coming out of World War II, we knew it was important to have economic development and competitiveness, but over time we've learned that's insufficient in and of itself. Of course, we needed economic success for sure, but unless we have that kind of success, with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, with environmental sustainability, so we don't pollute ourselves along the way, and we do it in a safe way with national security, we're not going to have sustainable development for the long term. So that's kind of the overarching picture. And this next slide is a chart. And think of that jellyfish there as the human project. And you see on the bottom there, that's the timeline. Earth is 4 billion years old, and humans came on this scene a million or 2 million years ago, and it's been an up and down road. Mostly it's going upward toward more sustainable development, but it goes up and down, and we're at a crossroads. You can see there with the dotted line, right? And so the human project needs leadership, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and come back to kind of the component parts of the jellyfish, the human project. That jellyfish is picked, by the way. There's a particular species of jellyfish called Teratopsis dohrnii, which is the immortal jellyfish because it has regenerative properties. And that's what we're trying to do is extend the human project, the American project, as far and as fast as we can. And so it's an apt metaphor for what we're trying to do. So that's the first big point. You can go to the next slide. Sustainable development is what we're headed for, and so why is manufacturing at the kernel of that? And these bullets you can read, and you can socialize this with your friends and family. Is manufacturing has, we've proven this over the years, the largest positive economic ripple effect throughout the economy, and we've identified we've got the good hard work done about key industries for long-term American prosperity. So these manufacturing industries are essential. And we saw this in the pandemic, right? With the supply chains and whatnot, on PPE and testing gear, how insufficient that is. So we have a lot of good hard work ahead of us. And that's why you guys are on the ground floor to get this, improved for the nation and really being a good example for the rest of the world. The third bullet there is, of course, you need a job. You want to have a meaningful role and meaningful work. And boy, this is a great zone for you to get involved in. You get well-paid jobs on a lot of fronts, like Olivia was talking about, and we'll talk more about that. And then the last thing is we're building a science around what's it take in a region, in a geography, to really have manufacturing thrive. So we're at the early stages of that, but it's super exciting. It connects to this thing called complex system science, and it's really fundamental to sustainable development. So the third big point is smarter manufacturing requires this thing I was talking about, systems leadership. And we think of leaders, oh yeah, the big fancy CEO or the president or something like that. Those people are important, but we're talking about finding an agency for every person, finding a role wherever you are, whatever organization, public, private, nonprofit organization, at whatever stage where you can add value. And it means oftentimes working with other people outside of your comfort zone, or in a related field. And so Olivia and the Subortus Project is one manifestation of systems leadership, doing things that, is this the normal, high school activity? Absolutely not. You're getting out of their silo and working, across systems to come together. And so those 5 elements are one way to look at some of the skills and activities that systems leaders carry out. And there's a lot of content that we could share with the Subortus Project and with you there in high school, with your friends and families and teachers and mentors and peers about how to apply systems leadership going forward. This is the jellyfish, right? So this kind of reflects. You should be looking at this and saying, okay, where do I have a role within the human project? If we're moving toward a sustainable society, where are we? Of course, we have the 3 levels of public governance, which you have an impact on in terms of voting and participating and organizing and having input into those governance systems. All of us have a role in the private governance, right? We're either working for some organization that's a for-profit business or a nonprofit or a social enterprise or government entity. So we can have some systems leadership agency there. And then the last area of systems leadership is our personal behaviors, what we buy, why, and what we do, how we spend our time and whatnot. So the fourth big point is how you get started to be a systems leader for sustainable development in manufacturing. I'd say join the Subortus Project. That makes a lot of sense, and learn to become a systems leader through that. You can make a difference, get a good living, share this and get feedback from your teachers, parents, peers, and mentors, and you'll have a long life of finding one meaningful role to the next and making a difference for the American project.